Did a medieval prince's bloodlust inspire the vampire Dracula, or was his savagery a desperate bid to save a nation? Vlad the Impaler, born Vlad III Dracula in 1431, was a ruler whose name became synonymous with terror, his gruesome practice of impaling enemies creating a legend that haunts history. If this shocking tale of a man both feared and revered hooks you, smash that subscribe button like this video and share it to uncover the dark story of one of history's most brutal figures. Drop a comment. Could you imagine facing a ruler who turned battlefields into forests of the dead? Vlad III Dracula, born in Transylvania, was no ordinary prince. Raised in a turbulent 15th century Romania, then called Wallachia, he grew up in a world of betrayal, war, and survival. His piercing eyes, hawkish nose, and stern demeanor gave him an imposing presence, but it was his ruthless cruelty that defined him. Known as Tepes Impaler in Romanian, Vlad earned his name by skewering enemies, sometimes thousands at a time, on wooden stakes, leaving them to die in agony. This shocking practice wasn't mere sadism. It was a calculated terror tactic designed to intimidate the mighty Ottoman Empire and secure his throne. Yet it was this brutality that inspired Bram Stoker's Dracula in 1897, blending Vlad's name with vampire myth. Vlad's early life was a crucible of hardship. Born to Vlad Dracula, a member of the Order of the Dragon, he inherited the name Dracula, meaning son of the dragon. At age 11 in 1442, Vlad and his brother Radu were sent as hostages to the Ottoman court to ensure their father's loyalty. There, Vlad endured years of captivity, witnessing torture and betrayal. Historical accounts suggest these experiences forged his iron will and deep hatred for the Ottomans, shaping his later cruelty. Released in 1448, he returned to Wallachia, a land torn by rival nobles and Ottoman invasions, determined to reclaim his throne with unmatched ferocity. By 1456, at age 25, Vlad seized power as voivode of Wallachia, ruling a region caught between Christian Europe and the expanding Ottoman Empire. His reign was marked by shocking acts of violence. In 1459, he impaled 2,000 boyars, Wallachian nobles he suspected of treason, creating a grotesque display outside his capital Targovist. Chronicles describe stakes driven through victims' bodies, left upright to rot, as warnings. Modern historians estimate Vlad's victims numbered in the tens of thousands, with some accounts claiming up to 100,000, though likely exaggerated. His methods, while horrifying, were strategic, designed to consolidate power and deter invaders in a lawless era. What's shocking about Vlad wasn't just his cruelty, but his duality. To Wallachians, he was a defender of Christendom, a hero resisting Ottoman conquest. To his enemies, he was a monster dubbed Kazikli Bey, impaling prince by the Turks. His court at Targoviste was a blend of medieval splendor and terror, with feasts held amid impaled corpses. Contemporary accounts describe Vlad dining calmly as victims screamed, a chilling image that fueled his legend. Modern psychologists suggest he may have had a personality disorder, his trauma and power amplifying a sadistic streak. Yet his actions were rooted in the brutal realities of 15th century warfare. The emotional toll on Wallachia was immense. Peasants crushed by taxes and war saw Vlad as both savior and tyrant. His purges of corrupt nobles won loyalty, but his mass impalements terrified communities. One account from 1460 describes a merchant who reported a theft to Vlad, only to find the thief impaled the next day, along with a warning to others. This ruthless justice restored order, but at a horrific cost. The Ottoman Empire, meanwhile, grew wary with Sultan Mehmed, reportedly shaken by Vlad's tactics. As Vlad's reign grew bloodier, his enemies closed in. How did a prince balance heroism with horror, and what drove his relentless cruelty? In the next part, we'll dive into his most infamous battles and the terror that defined his rule. But first, comment below. What shocks you most about Vlad's brutal rise to power? Like and share to spread this dark history. The Forest of the Impaled. How does a prince turn battlefields into nightmares, creating a forest of skewered bodies to terrify an empire? By 1462, Vlad the Impaler, the ruthless voivode of Wallachia, had unleashed a campaign of such shocking cruelty that it stunned the Ottoman Empire and cemented his legend as a living horror. If this blood-chilling tale of calculated terror hooks you, smash that subscribe button like this video and share it to spread the story of one of history's most brutal figures. Drop a comment. Could you imagine facing the gruesome spectacle of Vlad's impaling fields? By his late 20s, Vlad III Dracula, known as the Impaler, had solidified his rule over Wallachia, a small Romanian principality caught between Christian Europe and the expanding Ottoman Empire. His reign, which began in 1456, was defined by a ferocity that went beyond warfare. It was psychological terror on a scale that shocked even the battle-hardened 15th century. Vlad's signature method, impalement, wasn't just a punishment. It was a spectacle designed to break the will of his enemies. In 1462, during his most infamous campaign against Sultan Mehmed II, Vlad created a display so horrifying it became known as the Forest of the Impaled, a gruesome testament to his ruthless genius. Vlad's conflict with the Ottomans was personal. As a boy, he spent years as a hostage in their court, enduring humiliation and witnessing their brutal tactics. This fueled a burning hatred, and when he seized Wallachia's throne, he vowed to resist their conquest. By 1461, the Ottomans demanded tribute, and Wallachian boys for their Janissary corps, a practice Vlad despised. His response was defiant. He ambushed Ottoman envoys, nailing their turbans to their heads, a bold act that provoked Mehmed II, the conqueror of Constantinople. In 1462, Mehmed marched on Wallachia with an army of 90,000 horse, determined to crush Vlad's rebellion. What's shocking about Vlad's campaign was its sheer audacity. Outnumbered 3-1 with only 30,000 men, Vlad turned to guerrilla warfare, striking Ottoman camps at night. His night attack in June 1462 saw his forces infiltrate Mehmed's camp, killing thousands in a chaotic assault. Vlad's men, dressed in Ottoman disguises, sowed panic with Vlad himself, reportedly cutting down dozens. Though the attack failed to kill Mehmed, it shook the Sultan's confidence. But Vlad's true masterstroke came later that summer, when he unleashed his most terrifying weapon, the Forest of the Impaled. Near Targovist, Vlad's capital, he ordered the impalement of 20,000 Ottoman prisoners, captured soldiers, and local traitors. Wooden stakes sharpened to deadly points were driven through victims' bodies, some through the abdomen, others from mouth to skull, hoisted upright, to create a macabre field. When Mehmed's army approached in July 1462, they encountered this grotesque spectacle, thousands of bodies rotting in the summer heat, buzzing with flies stretching for miles. Contemporary chronicles report Mehmed, a seasoned warrior, was so horrified he retreated, calling Vlad a demon. Modern estimates suggest the number was closer to 10,000, but the psychological impact was undeniable, earning Vlad the Ottoman nickname Kazakhle Bey, Impaling Prince. The emotional toll on Wallachia was profound. Vlad's subjects, a mix of peasants and nobles, lived in fear of his wrath. While his purges of corrupt boyars and thieves restored order, his mass impalements terrorized communities. One chilling account from 1460 tells of a village where Vlad impaled an entire family for sheltering an Ottoman spy, their screams echoing for days. Peasants whispered of his feasts amid the stakes dining, as victims writhed, a detail possibly exaggerated, but central to his myth. Modern psychologists suggest Vlad's trauma as an Ottoman hostage may have fueled a sadistic need for control, his cruelty, a response to a world of betrayal. The societal backdrop of 15th century Wallachia amplified Vlad's actions. The region was a battleground with constant invasions and internal feuds among nobles. Vlad's harsh rule brought stability, but at a cost. His impalements weren't random. They targeted Ottoman collaborators, thieves, and rivals, enforcing a brutal justice. German pamphlets from the time, often biased, exaggerated his atrocities, claiming he boiled children or drank blood, laying the groundwork for the Dracula myth. While historians doubt blood drinking, they confirm his use of impalement as a psychological weapon, a tactic rooted in Ottoman practices he turned against them. Vlad's campaign of 1462 was a Pyrrhic victory. Mehmed's retreat didn't end the war, and Vlad's resources dwindled. His allies, including Hungarian King Matthias Corvinus, grew wary of his extremism, and internal rivals plotted his downfall. By late 1462, Vlad was betrayed, imprisoned by Matthias, and his throne usurped by his brother Radu, an Ottoman ally. Yet the Forest of the Impaled ensured Vlad's name would echo through history, a symbol of terror that inspired both fear and awe. How did Vlad's cruelty shape his reign, and what drove him to such extremes? In the next part, we'll explore his personal life, his inner demons, and the myths that began to grow. But first, comment below. What shocks you most about Vlad's gruesome Forest of the Impaled? Like and share to help us bring more dark history to light, the man behind the monster. What drives a man to dine among the screams of the impaled, his heart hardened by betrayal, yet revered as a protector by his people? Vlad the Impaler, known as Vlad III Dracula, was more than a brutal prince. He was a complex figure shaped by trauma, ambition, and a relentless need for control, whose personal life laid the foundation for the vampire myth that would haunt history. If this chilling glimpse into a ruler's soul hooks you, smash that subscribe button like this video, and share it to spread the tale of one of history's most terrifying figures. Drop a comment. Could you imagine living under the shadow of Vlad's ruthless rule? By the early 1460s, Vlad III Dracula, now in his early 30s, had established himself as the fearsome voivode of Wallachia, his name synonymous with terror. His campaign against the Ottoman Empire, marked by the horrifying Forest of the Impaled in 1462, stunned enemies and allies alike. Yet behind the blood-soaked legend was a man whose personal life, marked by loss, betrayal, and a fierce devotion to his land, offers clues to the psyche of a ruler who balanced heroism with horror. Vlad's private world, shrouded in mystery, reveals a figure both human and monstrous, whose deeds inspired Bram Stoker's Dracula. Vlad's personal life was rooted in the turmoil of his youth. Born in 1431 in Sighișoara, Transylvania, to Vlad II Dracula, he inherited the name Dracula, meaning son of the dragon, from his father's membership in the Order of the Dragon, a Christian chivalric order. At age 11, Vlad and his younger brother Radu were sent as hostages to the Ottoman court in 1442, a brutal bargain to secure their father's loyalty. There, Vlad endured years of captivity, witnessing executions, and enduring psychological torment. Historical accounts suggest he was defiant, clashing with his captors, while Radu adapted, becoming an Ottoman favorite. This experience scarred Vlad, fostering a deep hatred for the Turks and a mistrust that shaped his later ruthlessness. Upon returning to Wallachia in 1448, Vlad's personal life remained turbulent. He married Ilona Szilágyi, a Hungarian noblewoman in the 1450s, and they had at least 2 sons, Mihnea and Vlad. Little is known of Ilona, but chronicles describe her as a stabilizing force, though often absent from Vlad's court due to his constant wars. His household in Targovist was a mix of medieval splendor and dread, with feasts held in the shadow of impaled victims. One chilling account from 1460 describes Vlad hosting a banquet where he invited boyars only to impale those he suspected of disloyalty mid-meal, their bodies left as grim centerpieces. This blend of hospitality and horror shocked even his allies, painting a picture of a man who thrived on fear. What's shocking about Vlad was his psychological complexity. Modern historians like Radu Florescu suggest his Ottoman captivity instilled a need for absolute control, manifesting in his sadistic punishments. Impalement. His signature method was a slow, agonizing death, with stakes driven through victims' bodies to maximize suffering. Yet Vlad saw it as justice targeting corrupt nobles, thieves, and Ottoman spies. A 1461 incident tells of a merchant who left gold in a public square only to find it untouched the next day. Such was the fear of Vlad's wrath. This ruthless order won him loyalty among peasants who saw him as a defender against foreign invaders and internal chaos. The emotional toll on Wallachhia's people was immense. Peasants burdened by war taxes revered Vlad for protecting their Christian faith against the Ottomans, but they feared his unpredictable rage. One story from 1459 recounts a village woman executed for sewing a poorly made shirt, a punishment Vlad claimed upheld discipline. Nobles decimated by his purges whispered of his madness, while priests debated his piety, noting his generous donations to monasteries. His duality, hero to some, tyrant to others, fueled early myths. German pamphlets circulated by Saxon merchants he targeted exaggerated his atrocities, claiming he boiled children or drank blood, sowing the seeds of the vampire legend. The societal backdrop of 15th-century Wallachia amplified Vlad's actions. The region was a volatile frontier, with Ottoman invasions and noble feuds threatening collapse. Vlad's harsh rule restored order, but alienated allies like Hungary's Matthias Corvinus, who imprisoned him in 1462 after accusations of treason. During his 12-year captivity, Vlad's legend grew, with stories of his cruelty spreading across Europe. These tales, blending fact and fiction, caught the attention of later writers, including Bram Stoker, who in 1897 used Vlad's name and reputation to craft Dracula, merging his impaling horrors with vampire folklore. Vlad's personal life, though sparsely documented, reveals a man driven by survival. His brother Radu, who sided with the Ottomans, became his rival, usurping his throne in 1462. This betrayal deepened Vlad's paranoia, evident in his merciless purges. Yet his love for Wallachia was undeniable. He fought to preserve its independence, even at a horrific cost. How did Vlad's inner demons shape his reign, and how did his legend grow in captivity? In the next part, we'll explore his imprisonment, his final battles, and the myths that took root. But first, comment below. What shocks you most about Vlad's blend of cruelty and charisma? Like and share to help us bring more dark history to light. The Caged Prince and the Growing Legend. How does a prince locked away for over a decade transform from a feared ruler into a myth that would birth the vampire Dracula by 1462? Vlad the Impaler, the brutal voivode of Wallachia, faced betrayal and imprisonment. His reign of terror halted, but his legend only beginning to spread. If this chilling tale of captivity and rising infamy hooks you, smash that subscribe button, like this video, and share it to spread the story of one of history's most terrifying figures. Drop a comment. Could you imagine a man like Vlad emerging from a dungeon to reclaim his bloody throne? In 1462, at age 31, Vlad III, Dracula, known as the Impaler, was at the height of his power. His forest of the impaled, having stunned the Ottoman Empire and secured his reputation as a fearsome defender of Wallachia. Yet his relentless cruelty and defiance of powerful allies led to his downfall. Betrayed by Hungarian king Matthias Corvinus, Vlad was imprisoned, his throne usurped by his brother Radu, an Ottoman ally. The years of captivity that followed didn't silence Vlad's name. They amplified it as tales of his atrocities spread across Europe, laying the groundwork for the Dracula myth that would captivate the world. Vlad's imprisonment began under murky circumstances. After his 1462 campaign against Sultan Mehmed II, Vlad sought Hungarian support to maintain his rule. Instead, Matthias, pressured by rival nobles and Ottoman diplomacy, arrested him on charges of treason, possibly fabricated. Chronicles suggest Matthias used Vlad as a scapegoat to justify his own diplomatic failures. Vlad was confined in Visegrad Castle, a fortress overlooking the Danube, for over a decade from 1462 to 1474. While some accounts claim he was tortured, others describe a relatively comfortable captivity with Vlad, allowed to roam the castle grounds. One chilling tale, likely exaggerated, tells of Vlad impaling rats and birds in his cell, a sign his obsession with control persisted even in confinement. What's shocking about Vlad's imprisonment was how his legend grew. German pamphlets printed by Saxon merchants who despised Vlad for his trade restrictions circulated lurid stories across Europe. These accounts, like the 1463 story of a bloodthirsty madman called Dracula, described him boiling children, eating human flesh, and impaling thousands. While historians dismiss claims of cannibalism, the pamphlet's vivid imagery, Vlad dining amid steaks, blood pooling at his feet, captured imaginations. These stories, translated into multiple languages, reached courts as far as Italy, blending fact with fiction to create a monster. Modern scholars estimate these pamphlets exaggerated Vlad's victim count, possibly inflating 10,000 deaths to 100,000, but their impact was undeniable, shaping his image as a tyrant. The emotional toll on Wallachia during Vlad's absence was profound. His brother Radu, installed as a puppet ruler by the Ottomans, lacked Vlad's ferocity, and Wallachia descended into chaos. Peasants who had seen Vlad as a protector against corrupt nobles mourned his loss, while boyars schemed to maintain power. One account from 1463 describes villagers hiding food to avoid Ottoman taxes, only to face brutal reprisals. Vlad's absence left a void, with his legend growing among the common folk who whispered of his return to drive out invaders. This duality, hero to peasants, villain to nobles, deepened the myth of Vlad as both savior and terror. The societal backdrop of 15th century Europe fueled Vlad's infamy. The printing press, newly invented, spread tales of his cruelty faster than ever, making him a figure of fascination and fear. The Ottoman threat loomed large, with Mehmed II's conquests pushing into Europe, and Vlad's defiance, even in defeat, made him a symbol of resistance. Yet his methods, impaling prisoners, burning villages, alienated allies like Hungary, whose king used Vlad's imprisonment to appease Ottoman diplomats. During these years, Vlad's family, including his wife Ilona and sons, lived in obscurity, likely in Hungary, their fate tied to his uncertain future. By 1474, shifting politics led to Vlad's release. Matthias Corvinus, facing renewed Ottoman aggression, saw Vlad's ferocity as an asset. Vlad returned to Wallachia in 1476, reclaiming his throne with Hungarian support. His final reign was brief but bloody. In late 1476, he launched attacks on Ottoman garrisons, impaling hundreds to reassert his dominance. Chronicles describe a battle where Vlad, outnumbered, fought with such savagery that survivors fled in terror. Yet his return was marred by betrayal. Rival boyars, fearing his wrath, and Ottoman forces closed in, setting the stage for his final stand. Vlad's brief return sparked new stories. One chilling account claims he disguised himself as a Turk to infiltrate an enemy camp, only to impale captured spies before his own troops, a grim reminder of his ruthlessness. Modern historians like Kurt Treptow suggest Vlad's later years showed a calculated blend of terror and strategy, his cruelty a tool to unify a fractured Wallachia. Yet the myths growing around him, tales of blood drinking and supernatural strength, began to overshadow the man setting the stage for his transformation into Dracula. How would Vlad's final days unfold, and what sealed his legacy as a monster? In the next part, we'll explore his last battles, his mysterious death, and the birth of the Dracula legend. But first, comment below. What shocks you most about how Vlad's imprisonment fueled his terrifying myth? Like and share to help us bring more dark history to light. The final stand and the birth of a legend. How does a prince meet his end in a blaze of blood and betrayal, only to rise as the vampire Dracula, haunting history forever? In March 1426, Vlad the Impaler, the fearsome voivode of Wallachia, returned from over a decade of imprisonment to reclaim his throne. His final battles and mysterious death, sparking tales that would birth one of literature's most enduring monsters. If this chilling tale of a warrior's last stand hooks you, smash that subscribe button, like this video, and share it to spread the story of one of history's most brutal figures. Drop a comment. Could you imagine facing Vlad's wrath in his desperate final days? By 1476, Vlad III Dracula, now 45, was a shadow of the young prince who had terrorized the Ottoman Empire with his Forest of the Impaled. After 12 years of imprisonment in Hungary, from 1462 to 1474, Vlad returned to Wallachia, a land ravaged by Ottoman incursions and internal strife. Released by Hungarian King Matthias Corvinus to counter the growing Ottoman threat, Vlad seized his throne for the third time, determined to restore his rule through the same ruthless tactics that had made him infamous. His final months were a whirlwind of violence, betrayal, and a death so shrouded in mystery that it fueled the legend of Dracula. Vlad's return was marked by desperation. Wallachia was fractured, with nobles loyal to his brother Radu, an Ottoman puppet, and others scheming for power. The Ottoman Empire under Sultan Mehmed II pressed deeper into Europe, threatening Wallachia's independence. Vlad, with a small army of loyalists and Hungarian mercenaries, launched a campaign to reclaim his authority. In November 1476, he attacked Ottoman garrisons near Bucharest, impaling hundreds of captured soldiers to send a message. Chronicles describe Vlad riding into battle, his armor splattered with blood, wielding a sword with terrifying precision. One account claims he personally executed 50 prisoners, their stakes lining the road to his capital Targovist, as a grim warning. What's shocking about Vlad's final campaign was its ferocity against impossible odds. Outnumbered by Ottoman forces and betrayed by Wallachian boyars, Vlad relied on guerrilla tactics, striking at night to maximize terror. A chilling incident from December 1476 tells of Vlad disguising his men as Turks to infiltrate an Ottoman camp, slaughtering hundreds before vanishing into the forest. This night attack echoed his 1462 assault, but his resources were depleted and allies were scarce. Hungarian support waned, with Matthias Corvinus distracted by other wars, leaving Vlad vulnerable. Despite this, his defiance inspired fear, with Ottoman soldiers whispering of Kazikli Bey, the impaling prince, as a demon who struck from the shadows. The emotional toll on Wallachia was crushing. Peasants battered by years of war and taxes saw Vlad as their last hope against Ottoman conquest, yet feared his wrath. One story from 1476 describes a village offering food to Vlad's army, only for him to impale a farmer suspected of hiding supplies, a brutal act to enforce loyalty. Nobles resentful of his purges plotted against him, with some sending secret messages to the Ottomans. Vlad's family wife, Ilona, and sons Minea and Vlad remained in Hungary, likely unaware of his fate. Their absence a stark reminder of his isolation. His court, once a blend of splendor and terror, was now a makeshift camp, with Vlad dining on coarse bread amid his soldiers. Vlad's death in late 1476 or early 1477 is cloaked in mystery. Chronicles offer conflicting accounts. Some claim he was betrayed by boyars during a battle near Bucharest, ambushed and beheaded. Others say he fell fighting Ottomans, his body left on the battlefield. A chilling rumor recorded by a Hungarian scribe suggests Vlad was mistaken for a Turk by his own men, killed in the chaos of combat. His head was reportedly sent to Mehmed II, displayed in Constantinople to prove the impaler's demise. No definitive grave exists fueling tales that Vlad never died, a myth that grew into the vampire legend. Modern historians like Radu Florescu estimate Vlad was 45 at his death, his body likely lost to the chaos of war. The societal backdrop of 15th century Wallachia amplified Vlad's myth. The region was a battleground, with Ottoman invasions and noble feuds, creating a lawless frontier. Vlad's death left Wallachia vulnerable, quickly falling under Ottoman control. Yet his legend grew spread by German pamphlets that exaggerated his atrocities. Tales of boiling children, drinking blood, and impaling 100,000 dwellers. These stories, circulated via the new printing press, reached European courts, painting Vlad as a monster. By the 16th century, Romanian folklore began blending his deeds with vampire myths, inspired by his name Dracula and bloody reputation. Bram Stoker, researching Romanian history in the 1890s, drew on these tales for Dracula, merging Vlad's cruelty with supernatural horror. The emotional impact of Vlad's death was profound. Peasants mourned him as a defender of Christendom, with some villages preserving stories of his resistance. Nobles relieved at his demise erased his name from records, but his legend persisted. One shocking detail emerged decades later. A Romanian chronicle claimed Vlad's head, displayed in Constantinople, was said to smile, as if mocking his enemies even in death. This eerie image, likely apocryphal, fueled his myth as an unkillable force, a precursor to the vampire Dracula. How did Vlad's legacy transform from prince to monster, shaping centuries of horror? In the next part, we'll explore the cultural impact of his legend and the enduring fascination with his bloody reign. But first, comment below. What shocks you most about the mystery of Vlad's final days? Like and share to help us bring more dark history to light. The birth of Dracula and the myths spread. How does a prince's bloody reign transform into a vampire legend that haunts the world for centuries, blending history with horror? After Vlad the Impaler's mysterious death in 1476, his name didn't fade. It grew into a chilling myth, fueled by tales of his cruelty and the eerie allure of his name. Dracula inspiring one of literature's most iconic monsters. If this haunting tale of a legend's rise hooks you, smash that subscribe button like this video and share it to spread the story of one of history's most terrifying figures. Drop a comment. Do you believe Vlad's atrocities alone created the Dracula myth, or was something darker at play? The death of Vlad III, Dracula the Impaler, in late 1476 or early 1477, marked the end of his physical reign, but it was only the beginning of his transformation into a figure of eternal infamy. At 45, Vlad fell in battle or betrayal, his head reportedly displayed in Constantinople to prove the impaling prince was no more. Yet his absence allowed his legend to flourish as stories of his gruesome deeds spread across Europe, blending with folklore to create the vampire Dracula. His life, a mix of heroic resistance and sadistic terror, became a canvas for myths that would captivate generations, culminating in Bram Stoker's 1897 novel, Dracula. The immediate aftermath of Vlad's death saw Wallachia fall deeper into Ottoman control. His brother Radu, an Ottoman puppet, died shortly after, and the region descended into chaos with rival nobles vying for power. Vlad's family wife, Ilona, and sons Minea and Vlad faded into obscurity, likely living in Hungary under the protection of Matthias Corvinus. Yet Vlad's name lingered among Wallachia's peasants, who saw him as a defender against Turkish invaders. Oral traditions preserved stories of his courage, but also his horrors, with villagers whispering of fields of impaled bodies and a prince who dined amid screams. These tales passed down in Romanian folklore began to merge with local vampire myths, where blood and death were supernatural omens. What's shocking about Vlad's posthumous legend was its rapid spread. The 15th century printing press, a revolutionary invention, amplified his infamy. German pamphlets like the 1488 Tale of Dracula, circulated by Saxon merchants he had targeted, painted him as a bloodthirsty tyrant. These accounts claimed he impaled 100,000 boiled children alive and drank human blood, exaggerations that modern historians like Kurt Treptow estimate inflated his victim count from 10,000 to 40,000 toners. The pamphlets, translated into French, Italian, and Russian, reached courts across Europe, turning Vlad into a medieval boogeyman. One chilling image depicted him feasting among a forest of steaks, a scene that became a cornerstone of his myth, blending his real cruelty with Gothic horror. The emotional toll on Wallachhia's people was profound. Peasants struggling under Ottoman rule clung to Vlad's memory as a symbol of resistance. In 1480, a Romanian chronicle described villagers praying at a supposed grave, believing Vlad's spirit protected them. Nobles, however, erased his name, fearing his legacy would inspire rebellion. The Orthodox Church, once supported by Vlad's donations, condemned his brutality. Yet some priests secretly revered him as a Christian warrior. This duality, hero to the poor, monster to the elite, fueled his myth. One eerie tale claimed Vlad's head, displayed in Constantinople, was seen to smile, as if mocking his enemies, a detail that spread fear and fascination. The societal backdrop of post-1476 Europe was ripe for Vlad's transformation into a legend. The Ottoman Empire's advance into Hungary and Austria kept fear of the Turk alive, and Vlad's defiance made him a folk hero, even as his methods horrified. Vampire folklore prevalent in Eastern Europe provided fertile ground for his story. Beliefs in strigoi, undead creatures who drank blood, aligned with tales of Vlad's bloodlust, especially his impalements, which left bodies drained and lifeless. By the 16th century, Romanian storytellers wove Vlad's name into these myths, calling him Dracula, a name that carried the weight of his father's Order of the Dragon and his own dark reputation. The Dracula myth took centuries to fully form. In the 18th century, Enlightenment scholars rediscovered Vlad's story, with some praising his resistance, others condemning his cruelty. By the 19th century, Gothic literature's rise set the stage for Bram Stoker. Researching Romanian history, Stoker stumbled upon Vlad's name and deeds, inspired by accounts of his impalements and the name Dracula. His 1897 novel merged Vlad's historical terror with supernatural elements, creating Count Dracula, a charismatic blood-drinking noble who echoed Vlad's duality of charm and horror. Stoker's novel, while fictional, cemented Vlad's legacy, making him a global symbol of monstrous power. Modern analysis offers clarity on Vlad's myth. Historians argue his cruelty, while extreme, was not unique in a brutal era. Impalement was an Ottoman tactic he turned against them. Psychologists suggest his childhood trauma, years as an Ottoman hostage, fostered a need for control expressed through sadistic punishments. Yet his strategic genius, seen in his guerrilla warfare, shows a calculated mind, not mere madness. The vampire connection, while romanticized, draws from his bloody reputation and the cultural fears of his time. One shocking detail persists: a 16th century Romanian tale claimed Vlad's body was never found, sparking rumors. He rose from the grave, a story that fed Stoker's imagination. How did Vlad's legacy endure, shaping culture and horror for centuries? In the next part, we'll explore the lasting impact of his myth from Gothic literature to modern media and the truths that linger behind the legend. But first, comment below. What shocks you most about how Vlad's deeds birthed the Dracula myth? Like and share to help us bring more dark history to light. The eternal legacy of Vlad the Impaler. How does a 15th century prince, whose blood-soaked reign ended in betrayal, become an immortal symbol of horror that haunts the world centuries later? Vlad the Impaler, known as Vlad Dracula, died in 1476. But his legacy as the inspiration for Bram Stoker's Dracula transformed him into a global icon of terror, his name synonymous with both heroic defiance and monstrous cruelty. If this haunting finale of a man's descent into myth hooks you, smash that subscribe button like this video and share it to spread the tale of one of history's most shocking figures. Drop a comment. What does Vlad's transformation into Dracula reveal about our fascination with darkness? Vlad's death in late 1476 or early 1477, whether by betrayal or in battle, marked the end of his physical reign. But his legend grew larger than life. His gruesome practice of impaling thousands, his defiance of the Ottoman Empire, and the eerie mystery of his demise fueled stories that spread across Europe, blending with folklore to create the vampire Dracula. By the 16th century, Vlad's name was already a byword for terror. His deeds exaggerated by German pamphlets and Romanian tales into a portrait of a bloodthirsty tyrant. This myth, rooted in his real atrocities, evolved over centuries, culminating in Stoker's 1897 novel, which immortalized Vlad as the charismatic, blood-drinking Count Dracula. The cultural impact of Vlad's legacy was profound and immediate. After his death, Wallachia fell under Ottoman control, but his memory endured among peasants who saw him as a defender of Christian Romania. Romanian folklore preserved stories of his courage, with some villages claiming his spirit guarded the land. One chilling tale, recorded in 1480, suggested Vlad's body was never found, sparking rumors. He rose from the grave, a story that merged with local Strigoi myths of undead creatures. Meanwhile, German pamphlets like the 1488 tale of Dracula spread across Europe, describing Vlad impaling 100,000 boiling children and drinking blood, exaggerations that modern historians estimate inflated his victim count from 10,000 to 40,000. These lurid accounts, printed on early presses, turned Vlad into a medieval monster, captivating courts from Vienna to Venice. The emotional toll of Vlad's legacy was felt across generations. His family wife Ilona and sons Mihnea and Vlad faded into obscurity, their lives overshadowed by his infamy. Mihnea, who briefly ruled Wallachia in the 1500s, was assassinated his reign, tainted by his father's reputation. Peasants struggling under Ottoman rule revered Vlad as a symbol of resistance, while nobles and the Orthodox Church condemned his brutality, erasing his name from official records. Yet his duality, hero to the poor tyrant to the elite, kept his story alive. One shocking detail persisted in Romanian lore. A 16th-century chronicle claimed Vlad's severed head, displayed in Constantinople, was said to laugh, as if mocking his enemy's victory, a haunting image that fueled his supernatural aura. The societal backdrop of post-1476 Europe amplified Vlad's myth. The Ottoman threat, coupled with the rise of the printing press, spread his story far beyond Wallachia. By the 18th century, Enlightenment scholars debated his legacy, some praising his resistance, others vilifying his cruelty. The 19th century's Gothic literature boom set the stage for Bram Stoker, who, researching Romanian history, found Vlad's name and deeds in William Wilkinson's An Account of the Principalities of Wallachia and Moldavia. Stoker's Dracula wove Vlad's impaling horrors and named Dracula, meaning son of the dragon, into a tale of a charismatic vampire, blending historical terror with supernatural dread. The novel's success spawned countless adaptations, from 1931's Dracula film with Bela Lugosi to modern TV series, cementing Vlad's place in global pop culture. Modern analysis sheds light on Vlad's enduring fascination. Historians like Radu Florescu argue his cruelty, while extreme, was strategic. Rooted in a brutal era where impalement was a common Ottoman tactic, he turned against them. Psychologists suggest his childhood as an Ottoman hostage fostered a need for control expressed through sadistic punishments. His forest of the impaled, with 10,000 to 20,000 victims, was a psychological weapon designed to terrify. Yet his charisma, seen in stories of him charming peasants with harsh justice, echoes the seductive Count Dracula. The vampire connection, while fictional, draws from cultural fears of blood and death, amplified by Vlad's bloody reputation. Today, Romania embraces him as a national hero, with his castle at Bran marketed as Dracula's castle, despite little evidence he lived there. Vlad's legacy is a warning about the seductive power of fear and control. His ability to inspire both awe and horror reflects humanity's fascination with the line between heroism and monstrosity. His story teaches that absolute power, even in defense of a cause, can breed chaos, and that myths can outlive men shaping history in ways they never imagined. One final detail chills the bone. A 17th-century Romanian tale claimed Vlad's spirit haunted the forests of Wallachia. A restless ghost, seeking vengeance, a story that keeps his name alive in whispers of the night. If this tale of Vlad's immortal myth shocked you, hit that subscribe button, like and share to spread these haunting stories with the world. Comment below. What do you think Vlad's transformation into Dracula reveals about our love for dark legends? Your engagement helps Weird History Unveiled bring more dark history to light. Don't miss our next dive into the strangest corners of the past. Subscribe now. The Immortal Dracula, Vlad's enduring terror. What kind of man leaves a legacy so dark that it spawns a vampire myth haunting the world with tales of blood and terror for over 500 years? Vlad the Impaler, known as Vlad III Dracula, died in 1476, but his brutal reign and mysterious end transformed him into a global symbol of horror, inspiring Bram Stoker's Dracula and countless stories that blur the line between man and monster. If this chilling finale of a prince's descent into eternal infamy hooks you, smash that subscribe button, like this video, and share it to spread the tale of one of history's most shocking figures. Drop a comment. Does Vlad's transformation into Dracula reveal our obsession with the monstrous within us all? Vlad III Dracula's death in late 1476 or early 1477, whether by betrayal, battle, or accident, marked the end of his physical reign, but his legend grew into something far greater: the vampire Dracula. His gruesome practice of impaling thousands, his defiance of the Ottoman Empire, and the eerie ambiguity of his demise fueled myths that spread from Wallachia to the world. By the 20th century, Vlad's name was inseparable from Bram Stoker's 1897 novel, Dracula, a Gothic masterpiece that merged his historical cruelty with supernatural horror. This final chapter explores how Vlad's legacy became a cultural juggernaut, shaping modern horror and revealing humanity's fascination with the line between heroism and monstrosity. The cultural impact of Vlad's myth was profound and enduring. After his death, Wallachia fell under Ottoman control, but his memory lived on in Romanian folklore. Peasants revered him as a defender of Christian faith, with villages like Arafu claiming he protected them from invaders. One haunting story recorded in 1480 told of Vlad's spirit wandering the Carpathian forests, a restless ghost seeking vengeance. These tales merged with Strigoi myths, undead beings who drank blood, amplifying Vlad's connection to vampirism. Meanwhile, German pamphlets from the 15th century, like the 1488 tale of Dracula, spread lurid tales of his atrocities across Europe, claiming he impaled 100,000 or drank blood. Modern historians like Kurt Treptow estimate his victim count at 10,000 40,000. But these exaggerated stories shaped Vlad into a medieval monster, captivating audiences far beyond Romania. The emotional toll of Vlad's legacy was felt across centuries. His family wife Ilona and sons Minea and Vlad faded into obscurity, their lives overshadowed by his infamy. Minea, who ruled Wallachia briefly in 1508, was assassinated, his father's reputation a curse. Peasants crushed by Ottoman rule clung to Vlad's memory as a symbol of resistance, while nobles and the Orthodox Church condemned his brutality, erasing him from official records. Yet his duality hero to the poor tyrant to the elite kept his story alive. One chilling detail persisted. A 16th-century Romanian chronicle claimed Vlad's severed head, displayed in Constantinople, was said to smile, as if defying death itself, a haunting image that fueled his supernatural aura and inspired Stoker's vampire. The societal backdrop of post-1476 Europe and beyond provided fertile ground for Vlad's myth. The Ottoman threat kept his defiance relevant, while the printing press spread his story, making him a figure of fascination. By the 19th century, the Gothic literature boom, fueled by Romanticism's love for the macabre, set the stage for Stoker. Researching Romanian history, Stoker found Vlad's name in William Wilkinson's 1820 book, an account of the principalities of Wallachia and Moldavia, and wove his impaling horrors and name Dracula, meaning son of the dragon, into a tale of a charismatic blood-drinking count. The 1897 novel Dracula became a cultural phenomenon, spawning films like 1931's Dracula, with Bela Lugosi, 1992's Bram Stoker's Dracula, and countless TV series, comics, and games, each reinforcing Vlad's legacy as a symbol of dark allure. Modern Romania embraces Vlad's duality. Tourists flock to Bran Castle, marketed as Dracula's castle, though Vlad likely never lived there. The site, with its Gothic towers and misty Carpathian backdrop, draws millions, blending history with myth. In Romania, Vlad is a national hero celebrated for resisting Ottoman conquest, with statues and museums honoring his legacy. Yet his global image as Dracula overshadows this, with Halloween costumes and horror films perpetuating the vampire trope. Modern scholars like Radu Florescu argue Vlad's cruelty was strategic, rooted in a brutal era where impalement was a common Ottoman tactic. He turned against them. Psychologists suggest his childhood trauma as a hostage fostered a need for control, expressed through sadistic punishments. Yet his charisma, seen in tales of charming peasants with harsh justice, echoes Count Dracula's seductive power. The enduring fascination with Vlad lies in his paradox, a hero who saved Wallachia at a horrific cost, a man whose real deeds were monstrous enough to inspire a fictional monster. His story warns of the dangers of absolute power, showing how fear and charisma can twist a nation's fate. One shocking final detail seals his legend in 1931. Archaeologists excavating Snagov Monastery, believed to be Vlad's burial site, found an empty tomb, sparking rumors that the Impaler never died, a tale that keeps his myth alive in whispers of the undead. Vlad's legacy is a dark mirror reflecting our obsession with the monstrous within. If this tale of Vlad the Impaler shocked you, hit that subscribe button, like and share, to spread these haunting stories with the world. Comment below. What does Vlad's transformation into Dracula reveal about our love for horror? Your engagement helps Weird History Unveiled bring more dark history to light. Don't miss our next dive into the strangest corners of the past. Subscribe now.